welcome back. This is Michelle from Michelle's Empty Nest, and today we are going to do two more stories in my December Daily 2021 album. We'll be doing stories M and N, and we are moving to volume 2 of my 10 by 8 albums for this year. So I do have a couple of stories still left to go back that I don't have completed yet and put into volume 1, and when I get those stories ready I will do a process video on those as well. So you'll still see those, but I'm gonna just kind of keep moving forward with what I do have ready because I'd like to get this finished up as close to the end of December as possible, and we're getting there. I'm filming this on the 29th, so I'm running out of time. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and get on fast forward and get these stories put together. So let's do it. Okay, I am going to go ahead and get everything out of my little scrapbook.com envelope. I finally ordered some big enough to hold the full-size pages. So I've got out things for story M, which is Michelle Loves Filters. I'm a little obsessed with them. And so I think I've done some kind of filter story in every album I've done ever. So I am adhering these two papers back to back, the grid paper and then the one that's got like Bah Humbug and Believing and some other things on there. I had to do a little clean out of my 6-hole punch there before I could repunch the holes. And then what I'm going to do is where there are round shapes on this grid, I'm punching out 2-inch circles. I had to go over and cut a little piece off of the top there on my trimmer so that my circle punch would reach. So I just used, I sized these at 2 inches square in Photoshop so that I could just cut out a 2-inch circle. And I just did 5 of them. I thought that was a nice number to use. And I'll have 1 on 3 of the rows and then 2 on the bottom row where there is an orange and like a little peppermint. So I think about just a second about how I want these laid out. And I end up putting it where like I'm looking into the page. That just kind of made sense to me, so that's what I'm doing. And then I went off to see if I had any more narrow foam tape, and I don't have any at the moment, so I come back to the thicker foam tape. I think this is probably about 1 inch. And so for each one of them, I'm going to cut 2 little small pieces, and I'm having to pull out my trash van there again. And I'll save you from having to watch me do all this and kind of skip through, but everything gets 1 big and 2 smalls, and then I'm just pulling off the release paper and putting those in place. And then I think from there I go ahead and put this in my album and turn my attention to story N, but I will be back to story M in just a minute. So for this one, this is new decor. I only bought 1 new thing other than ornaments. We get and buy quite a few ornaments each year, but this was my only decor piece. So I am working on just putting this square photo onto, and I realized I wanted to staple this in place before I adhered it to the other piece of paper. So just a little of my Kokuyo rolling adhesive, and then I will still use my tiny attacher a couple of times there just for a little extra something. And I'm gonna adhere these together using score tape again. I'm loving this Suquang brand of score tape. It is so nice. I am loving it, loving it. I cut this piece of red and white paper a little bit too big, and so I'm just trimming it down on 2 sides there to get everything situated. And then I'm going to put that in my album and go back to story M. And I had to scrape away one of those little circle pieces because I had put the score tape right along the area where I'm punching the holes there. So I decided that I would search through my tiny phrase stickers and just try to put a few on the page just for something extra. And so I found these green ones. The color was right. I liked that they had a larger type. And so I'm just going to pick 4 phrases. One says, I love Christmas. And then I'm going to do the fa la la one. I put it down, it's a little crooked. And when I pull it up, I decide I want to cut off a little bit of that extra. So that's what I'm doing. And then I think I do one maybe that says holidays and maybe let it shine, I think is what I put on the star there at the bottom. And then I'm kind of satisfied with how that looks. And then on the back of this paper, I decided to go, oh, nope, sorry. We're going to work on, I kind of jumped back and forth there. We're going to do the little Avery Index tab for this shorter page. Anytime I have something shorter, I'm typically going to put an Avery Index tab on it. So I pulled out my little workhorse stamp set that I use all the time. It's from December Daily last year, but I have used it in all kind of albums. And I choose a stamp that said a season of intention, I think is what it says. And so I'm going to get it stamped onto both sides of, or both pieces of the little paper strips there. And I decided I would try to put up there, I was showing you the name of it, Tiny Phrases. I decided I would try putting on the front part of the sticky on this Avery Index tab before I put the paper in, which is backwards from what I normally do. And it was a little tough. I had a hard time getting it in. I had to kind of get down on another level and turn it sideways and keep trying, but I eventually get it there and give you a thumbs up. And then I have to get my awl to get the back of this off because I struggle. And so I decided to pull out something that I can put onto the back of this paper. And I did go through several things and cut it out to keep you from having to watch all that. And I just decided to go ahead and use these hearts. I did think about a heart with that circle chipboard around it, but I didn't like it. I thought the chipboard kind of got lost. So I'm going to put these in place, and I just about always use my little tweezers there, the reverse tweezers, just to help me get a good visual of where things are. My hands are big, and it's easier to see with the tweezers. And then on the back of this paper, I wanted to put something just to keep it from being a blank page, and I didn't need it for the next story, so again, it's kind of a filler. My next story, though, does have that wreath paper that was in the 10x8 kit or set of papers you could get. So I thought this would be the perfect tie-in for that. And I wanted to get some of that score tape a little closer to the edge. So I went ahead and pulled the first 3 pieces off and then come back in and put in a piece closer to each edge just to make sure it was going to stay on there. And I try to center it as best I can. It's probably a little crooked, but it's okay. And that's going to finish me up. Okay. That is going to do it for today. So both of these were fairly simple, and I am perfectly okay with that. I have a couple of more complicated spreads still to come, so simple days are perfectly fine with me. I did have this already prepped from when I was doing some work in November getting ready, and I just backed the this die cut piece that you could order this year. I can't remember. It seems like it was in maybe a little pack of die cuts. And I just backed it on some vellum, added some stars where kind of the circular or cutout shapes would be in those letters, and added in a little puffy sticker that says we're going to have the happiest Christmas, and call that one good. And just kind of as a little, I guess, an icebreaker into this next volume. So then we have Michelle Loves Filters. And so I just took this grid paper And where there were circular items, I put 2-inch circles that I just punched out of my photo paper and popped them up on foam to give them a little dimension to make them stand out a little better. And then I did decide to go ahead and go back in with some little word phrase stickers just to give it a little something extra. And so I went and put one on each line. Okay, then I just backed it with this paper that I really didn't have any intention of using for anything else. And so it's kind of, you know, just a filler. But I decided to go ahead and use the other 3 of these little pleather puffy hearts. I had used 3 of them already. There must have been 6 because I know I used 3 in the first album. And so Merry Christmas Joy makes sense to me. I like the red and greens tied together. And then I like how some of these greens kind of pick up on the green of my little fake tree over here in the next page, which is my story in for new decor. And some years I buy several new pieces other than ornaments. We buy a lot of ornaments every year, and that story's coming up next. But the only new decor that I picked up this year was this, a little wooden house, very simple, kind of shakery looking, and then with just the Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus. And I put this Peace and Love fabric piece. I did put some roller adhesive under there, but then I still added in 2 little staples from my tiny attacher. And so that's the only new decor that I had. And then I used that same little stamp set that I always use for my tabs, it seems like, to stamp out a season of intention. So that is that one. And when I took this photo, I took it in square mode. And so I decided I would just make it be a square photo. So it measures 8.25 by 8.25. And then backed it with a red paper that I had already cut down and used part of it somewhere else. And so I had enough to make this 8.25 square. And because I know that the paper coming next has wreaths on it, I thought this would be the perfect little embellishment just to give this paper a little extra oomph. And it just says Merry and Bright on this chipboard. And it will tie in with my ornament story paper really well. So that is it for these 2 stories. And I appreciate you stopping by today so very much. It means more to me than you will ever know. If you enjoyed the video, I would love a thumbs up down below. And please also consider hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'd love for you to become a part of my little YouTube family. There will be close-ups at the end as well as over on Instagram, and I'd love for you to follow me there as well. It's always linked in the description box, along with any channels I mentioned or people that were like the inspiration behind the page, and many of the products that I use just over and over again are always linked down there. So until I see you in the next video, take care of yourself, do something good for yourself, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.